Hi there. Hello, everybody. Good to see you guys again. Okay, so like Kiltz just said, we're talking about addiction. Super fun. So the good news is, though, in my experience, Carnivore has kind of fixed a lot of that. I don't know. I'm actually curious. Have people here seen that doing Carnivore has helped reduce cravings for alcohol? Isn't that interesting? It's weird. There's other people that I've spoken with that have had addiction to nicotine that's gotten less. But today is more specifically, obviously, about food addiction, right? So obviously, I'm not going to be the one talking here. Let's invite on our panelists. So if you guys want to head on up here right now. All right, we've got Serena Musick, Kelly Hogan, Audra Coleman, Courtney Luna, and Anita Breeze all joining me on stage right now. Okay, so I think what would be kind of fun to do this time is have a little introduction again. So maybe like 2 minutes, we go down the line and everybody introduce yourselves, you know, what you do, the same thing as before. So let's keep it to 2 minutes. And then we'll go through, I might have a question as well to get us started, but then we're gonna do a little crowd play again to get things going. So let's begin. And I believe you can press that. Yeah.
Seed oil? My name's Maria Emmerich. 28 years ago now, I was sick. I was twice my size. And at my doctor's visit, I was told I had PCOS, depression. I got a medication for depression, IBS, and what else was it? Acid reflux. And I left that doctor's visit with there you go. It was 3 very powerful drugs given to a 16-year-old. And I didn't want to take them. There wasn't the internet back then, but I looked up what causes PCOS, because being told you can't have your own kids is pretty mind-blowing. And it was excess caffeine, sugar, and carbohydrates. And so I worked at a coffee shop where I made the scones and the muffins and the cinnamon rolls, and then I'd go to high school, and then after school I'd go back, and when we closed, I got to go home with all the extras. And you think I'm kidding, but I would make extra cinnamon rolls just to go home with. And that was my dinner. And I didn't want to eat chicken breast and broccoli, so I started creating my favorite recipes into really exotic, protein-forward, low-carb foods. And when we adopted 2 boys, my husband lost his job, so I started writing books to raise money for their adoption. And a lot of the money still goes towards other people's adoptions because I don't need any more stuff. But I am a nutritionist, sorry. I am a nutritionist who helps people. I have a business where we have meetings and all that. A couple people are coaches with me here, right, Kim? All right, and Barb and all those, so thank you.
Oops. Hey, everybody. My name is Courtney Luna. I'm just going to talk right to you because I'm so nervous right now. Sorry. Okay. I'm just going to talk to my life coach, Jen. 3-year carnivore, long history of yo-yo dieting. I went to my first Weight Watchers meeting at the age of 13, and it was just an S show since then, you know, just always chasing my weight, but never really thinking about health. I think I got a little bit warmer. In 2010, my vegetarian for 25 years, showed me Mark Sisson's Primal Blueprint, and we did paleo. But I was young, and so I didn't really stick with it. I was out partying and didn't really care about all that. But that led to low carb, and then that led to keto. Was keto on and off for about 7 years. After my second baby, I lost 50 pounds again for the 3rd time, and then I stopped doing, thank you, what was working for me. I got caught up in the anti-diet culture BS that's out there, where all foods fit, everything in moderation. You have to eat everything to have a good relationship with food. And I'm like, yes, that sounds so good. The first week actually went fine. I had a croissant in moderation. I lost 2 pounds, and then it went downhill from there. And I can't even say it without laughing because it's so ridiculous. I gained 40 pounds in 4 months. It sent me on a binge. And how I even stumbled upon this was during my Binge, my husband's love language is to send me TikToks. So in those TikToks was Paul Saladino talking about animal-based. And yeah, after a while, he's like, why don't we try this? I'm like, okay, I'm desperate. Like, I'm very overweight. My mental health was awful. I was on Zoloft for anxiety and depression. Did I say my skin was bad? I don't remember. So yeah, I'm like, let's just give it a shot. Went to it strictly for weight loss and got all these health benefits that I didn't even know were a thing because I wasn't following any of the influencers yet. It was just Saladino stuff. And a month in, my mental health improved, my skin cleared up. I will say, a few weeks ago, I had a little big cheat. My skin broke out again. I'm still kind of like recovering for that, so we can talk about that later, staying on the wagon. But yeah, did I say my weight loss? Okay, said that. And so yeah, it's just been life-changing, and I feel like even though people say this is such a restrictive way of eating, that restriction brings me freedom. And what? Oh, and I have a cookbook. Thank you, guys.
And my favorite thing about being in a community like this, I used to think my favorite part of going to meetups was the meat. And still, no complaints, meat is good. And then I thought maybe the reason it feels so special is not just because we all eat meat. Maybe it's because we really, really like meat, or we haven't had vegetables or old seed oils in a while. Like, what is it that makes it feel so special? And because hopefully you feel that. And what I really think it is that we've survived. And I know that for most of my first 25 years of life, no matter what I did, no matter how hard I was working, I kept gaining weight faster than anybody I knew. And felt like, but I'm working harder than anybody I know, but I must not be, I don't know, ambitious enough, or I'm lazy, or I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And then I met somebody today who said that she used to have boils, and she went carnivore, and they went away, and that was me too. We're boil sisters. My husband hates the word boils, but I say it every time because I think he might be watching. Boils, baby, but he was there. He was there for it, and he knows it was awful. So, I know, 2 minutes. All of this to say, I weighed 130-some pounds more back then, and I was trying way harder back then than I am now. I don't even feel like I'm trying. I'm just eating, and I stopped getting boils, and I had costochondritis, and I'm just happy to be here because what I think really brings us together is we're grateful because we've been through the hottest Hades, and now we get to show up and say it's not perfect. I mean, we're on the wrong side of this is earth, we're not to heaven yet. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than where I used to be, so thank you.
Let's see if mine works. Hello, my name is Audra Coleman. I have been addicted to sugar my whole entire life. We grew up as children. You got Kool-Aid. I live in the South, in case you couldn't tell. Everybody's like, you sound like Dolly Parton. And you look like Reba. Okay. I'm like, well, what better two ladies to be associated with? But anyway, we grew up in the South. Sweet tea, Kool-Aid, cookies, ice cream. You've been good, you get a treat. So I didn't have that much of a weight problem as a child, but as I started getting into my teens and 20s, it seemed like it was so easy to gain weight. And I didn't care about food. The only thing I cared about was sugar, whatever it was. My thing was white chocolate Reese's. Anyhow, so I gained a lot of weight from sugar. My weight would go up and down, yo-yo diet. Well, I decided that the thing I needed to do was have weight loss surgery. Well, so I went in to have weight loss surgery. They said, oh, your BMI is not quite heavy enough for that yet. Okay, well, let me gain 25 pounds. Not a problem. So I went home and I ate all the white chocolate Reese's and all the Doritos and all the ice cream and anything else I could eat. And my main thing was icing. Some people call it frosting, like on birthday cake. Y'all, I used to eat it out of the tub with a spoon, okay? And When we go to birthday parties, I want the corner piece with all the icing on both sides, and then the extra icing, just go ahead and scrape it with the knife and put that on my piece. Okay, I don't care if it turns my tongue black because it's black icing, that's okay. So I had a real major thing for icing and white chocolate Reese's. Went and had weight loss surgery. I did great, lost a lot of weight, lost like 80, well, I gained 25 to have the surgery. I had 2 leaks while I was in the hospital, which meant I should have been there for 2 days. I was there 8 weeks, okay? And I'm thinking, what was I doing? Why did I do this? Why didn't I just stay fat and keep craving sugar? Come home, I'm fully recovered from that. However, guess what happened? Guess what I found my way back to? Sugar. So my weight, I lost about 85 pounds. I was really happy. I'm like, this is great. I can eat cookies, and I'm still thin. Well, eventually that caught up. The weight started coming back. I found my way back to sugar, found my way back to chocolate icing, white chocolate Reese's, Doritos, all the crap food. Then I went keto. Well, then one day I was on YouTube looking around thinking, I lost weight with keto, but I need the next step. So then I saw this girl in North Carolina. And I live in North Carolina. And I'm like, she's been eating meat for 12 years, at the time, 12 years. And I'm like, wow, how does she do that? I don't think I could do that. Well, from January to September, I would do really, really good all week long. And then on the weekends, I would just bomb. I would just be like, I can't do it. I got to have Reese's. I can't do it. I got to have peanut butter. Can't do it. I got to have icing. Well, January to September, I'd go off and on, off and on, off. Even though my weight was still coming down some, and I wasn't gaining like I'd done so many times before. But anyway, I started binge watching her YouTube channel. I started binge watching Dr. Kim Berry, and I decided September 1st of 2021 that I would get on board. And at that time, I had gained about 50 pounds back from the weight loss surgery. I lost about 75 pounds with Carnivore, okay, in a pretty short period of time, about 10 months. But, I mean, at that point, I was like, I'm not craving sugar. What is this? I'm not craving sugar. I can do this. And anyway, since then, here I am. I will be Carnivore 4 years come September. And if you've never been to a meetup and this is your first one, I highly recommend that you do more meetups. You find more people in this community. I have met the most amazing people in this community. I mean, I have friends in other states that I've gone and stayed at their house that I've never even met in person, but I know them from the carnivore community. So, I mean, it's just very, if you're just starting, like I said, continue on. But that's where I am, and I was highly addicted to sugar. Like, I don't think, if I can do it, anybody can do it. So.
I'm going to talk to Courtney's coach, too. Hi. Yeah, this is very intimidating, but I'm really super grateful and happy to be here. My earliest picture of my name's Anita, by the way. The earliest picture that I have of myself was as a 2-year-old toddler. My buttons are bursting open. I'm very round, and I'm holding a 7-Up, a bottle of 7-Up, and an open bag of chips. That's pretty much how my entire life went, and I don't think I've ever spent a day in my life at a normal weight. At my highest weight, I was over 320 pounds. I couldn't walk to get my own mail down the road. It was just too hard. Couldn't do stuff with my kids. I could never have gotten on an airplane and flown from Western Canada to Tennessee to do anything for anybody, anyway. Like, that just wasn't an option. My life was super small. I couldn't go out because I was afraid I would break somebody's chair, which I have done. It's very humiliating. So I led a very restrictive, small life. About 12 years ago, I started doing low carb and started having some success. The weight was coming off, and I went to keto, got really into the keto treats. Oh, I discovered that I could make anything out of that almond flour, that wonderful stuff that gutted my gut to pieces. Coconut flour, all those things. I could just replicate anything. I became very good at it. Then I found Kelly too. She was my first, she was the first person I came across that was a carnivore. Tried carnivore for 30 days, immediately went back to keto because there was no, keto brownies on carnivore. So I had to go back to keto and just find my rock bottom. I don't get me wrong, keto is a great place to start. It's a low, and even low carb, single ingredient foods. I applaud it all. But as a food addict and a sugar addict, the meat is what made all the difference in the world. At this point, I've lost almost 150 pounds. I'm still on, thank you. I'm still on the journey. I need events like this. I'm in Kelly's group. I need to be in Kelly's group. I'm in Dr. Chafee's group. I think I'm in 3 or 4 groups. I need it all. I need people, and I need constant contact with other people who are just like me, or it's so easy for me to fall back to where I was. So very grateful to be here. And I used to just, when I first met Kelly and Audra, like everybody on this panel, I wanted to be them when I grew up in my journey, because I just felt like to be sitting at this table with these women, I'm overwhelmed and grateful. So thank you.
And we just love you. So I'm Serena Musick, and I don't know about you guys, but could you taste the Reese's peanut butter cups when Audra was talking about them? I mean, like, I could feel it in my mouth, right? And the icing, I could feel it in my mouth, which is a bad thing. So I've been a carnivore. It'll be 4 years next week, and I shared a little bit of my story earlier about how that came to be. And I just want to say that bought my first diet pills when I was 12. I've always been on a diet, and it was 5, 10, 15 pounds for me. I was never like a lot overweight. It was just always chasing that last little bit to get to where I wanted to be, which is so stressful to live in that state, like not just my whole adult life, but from when I was 12 years old, I was always chasing that. And when I found out I was pregnant with our first child 24 years ago, I threw caution to the wind. And I remember going out to dinner with my husband that night, and I got the ribs and the loaded, like I was a salad with chicken on top. I mean, that's most of us, right? Until we started carnivore. So I ordered ribs and the loaded baked potato and the salad, and I poured the blue cheese dressing on instead of dipping my fork in it. It was like, I was pregnant. I can just have this. And my husband looked across the table and he said, you know you can't eat like this the whole time, right? And I said, oh, God, this is just, we're celebrating tonight. Within a few months, I was buying whole quarter sheet cakes. So when I say a whole cake, a sheet cake is actually like giant. So the quarter sheet cake is what we usually get for a birthday party, like this big. And my hands were shaking when I was buying it so bad that I actually bought a cupcake too so I could eat it in the car with my fingers. And then I got home and I ate the cake and I saved my husband. And he came home and he went into the kitchen and he said, did you buy that cake today? And I said, what? I saved you a piece. Like, I really honestly didn't, in my head, I didn't comprehend what I was doing to myself. I gained 80 pounds when I was pregnant. I weighed more than he did, and he's 6'2". I'm 5'3", the day we left for the hospital. And I know, whoa. And it only took me 6 months to get it off. Like, I was really lucky. Weight Watchers, starving yourself, it seems to do the trick a lot of times. So I did Weight Watchers. And then after that, I gained 60 pounds, and then 40 pounds, and then 30 pounds with each of our 4 children, and learned almost nothing about nutrition and how to keep weight off. And with every pregnancy, I was just kind of doing that. I was still eating. I was just starving myself a little bit. And the thing is, like they said down there, I think as Courtney said, the moderation thing, it didn't work for me. That's getting pregnant with my first child and gaining 80 pounds is what happens when I moderate. When I say, oh, I'm just going to have a little bit of this and a little bit of, I'm going to have a little bit of this sheet cake. And then I ate almost the whole sheet cake. And so but I also want to share real quick, I know my time is up, but I want to share real quick that we're not all perfect. And like I said earlier, we fall off the wagon. I've gained 7 pounds in the last 3 weeks. We went to the movies and I had popcorn. And Courtney and Britt tried to talk me off the ledge. They said, don't have the popcorn, you'll be sorry. And I was like, thank you for trying to talk me out of it, but I think I'm having popcorn. It was just, I don't know. And then my daughter brought over a loaf of sourdough bread about a week and a half later. I'm gluten intolerant, but I knew that I know people who, there are faces, people are like, oh no, not the sourdough. But I knew people that could eat sourdough even when they couldn't eat wheat, so I had to test it, right? I mean, I had to see, because one of my other daughters is gluten intolerant. So I had like the heel of it with some butter. It was good. And I thought, well, let's see if I'm up all night. I get restless leg syndrome real bad. And it didn't bother me. So the next day, just for good measure, I had to have a whole piece, and it didn't bother me. The third day, I had 2 whole pieces. It was an experiment. I just wanted to see. And so that's what happens when those of us that are abstainers try to do the moderation thing. I really thought I could just have the bread. And I didn't go off the rails. This was not like a huge binge, but I'm still dealing with it. I started it 3 weeks ago. I'm not still eating those foods, but my body is still telling me it's unhappy. And so I share those things because there are so many of you here that I know aren't perfect. And so much of what we see on social media is perfect. When you see, I haven't posted about this. I'll be honest, online, but I haven't posted about it because it feels a little bit shameful, and you'll probably never see a piece of sourdough in my What I Eat in a Day videos. But my son was getting married, things have been crazy, so I haven't shared a lot on social media recently, but I will be honest about it because I feel like we have to be honest about it when things like that happen because so many of you go through the same thing, and you have a piece of cake at a birthday party and it feels like it's insignificant, but 30 days later, you're still having a bite of this and a bite of that. So I just wanted to share that because I feel like it's so important that you guys know that we're not all perfect, and we're sitting here telling you, good news about carnivore, and I got back on track, and you guys came back on track. So I tell you that because if that's where you are today, it's totally, I feel like, I don't want to say acceptable because I don't want to give you permission, but it happens to some of us, and don't beat yourself up. Just get right back on track.
Okay, so I kind of want to second that. So we're gonna toss it to y'all to ask questions, but I do feel that food addiction is kind of the center of a lot of this, right? And there's a lot of shame around food addiction, and we don't talk about it. Like all of us here, we've had food addiction, and so I guess I just want to invite everybody to don't feel ashamed about any question you might have, because there's probably at least 1, if not 10 or 20 people in this room that have experienced that exact thing. So, any question you have about food addiction or how to stop it, anything that comes to mind, we're open to it. So, who wants to go first? Yes, please. You know what? I'm going to need I don't know where my runner went, so I'm going to walk it over. That was you.
All right, how's this working? So oftentimes we think about food addiction being a driver of metabolic disease, but what if also, are we considering metabolic disease as a driver of food addiction, and why a carnivore way of eating, which helps reverse that metabolic disease, also helps greatly reduce those addictive tendencies?
I've worked with plenty of people that have binged on carnivore too. It wasn't even about the food. I've worked with people on GLP-1s that still binge eat. It wasn't about the food. It wasn't about the hunger. It was about, they say their mind was finally quiet. They weren't thinking about their problems at that time. It's not about the food in many cases. It's about life, I think.
Okay. What other questions do we have? Where? Yes, please. And while we're walking over there, yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if anybody's read the book Dopamine Nation. Could be a really good read on a Lemke on that very topic. Please.
Hi, guys. I am so grateful to be here. I've been a carnivore since 2019, June, so I'm coming on 6 years here. And know these people like they're my neighbors. Feel like they're in my back pocket all the time. So to see them and meet them face to face is one of the greatest blessings that I can imagine having, being in this part and time of my life. But so my mother died at the age of 52 from breast cancer. My grandmother died at the age of 97 from nothing. And we are body, mind, and spirit, right? We know food is foundational. We have to have the right food. My addictions to food started when my mother died. And it was my comfort. It was my mom. I bonded with Kelly because she said that she would put dish soap on her cake that went in the trash can, and I did it more than I can care to share. But my question is this: the food has changed my life, it's changed my husband's life, and currently it's changing my oldest son's life. We're praying it's going to change my younger son's life. But how much or how big of a percentage do you guys think that spiritual and mindset play along with the food? Bodies need the food, but what do our minds need? How important is that, and how important is the spirituality in your life? If we're all three, what do you guys think that plays into the addiction? Faith, or even just the way you think?
Yeah, I'll chime in. It's so much more than just food and what we're eating, and that helps a lot. I feel like eating carnivore really quiets that food noise. But then there's the emotional side where I'm actually still working on that and being aware of, like, when I fell off last week, like I was strict for 2 years, didn't even have a taste of anything. Even a bite of my kids' food, I didn't do it because I was afraid, honestly. And so a few weeks ago, one bite led to a bunch of bites, and it's just a lot of awareness comes as far as like why we're turning to food to ease whatever emotion and why we're eating our feelings. And so my latest rabbit hole, I'm glad she said the dopamine book, is it's giving us a dopamine hit. So if you're stressed, and you can even turn to carnivore food. Like, there was a time where I would get stressed out for my kids, and I'd find myself going into the kitchen and taking a swig of heavy cream, because it was like, since I don't drink anymore, I couldn't have a swig of whiskey, so I'm having heavy cream now. Yeah, it's a little better, right? But just having that awareness and doing the inner work. And I mean, I even had a nice talk with Kiltz on the way to the farm yesterday. I wish we could have recorded that. It was like a whole podcast episode in the van, but just so much about mental and what we're telling ourselves, and the story we're telling ourselves, like, I am healthy, I am well, instead of focusing, which I can tend to do, a lot of you guys know I'm struggling for the last 10, 15, and it's ridiculous, because then I'm telling myself that every day. Oh, I'm struggling, I can't lose this weight. So it's all this negative self-talk. So just, doing the inner work, shifting your mindset, you are the placebo. Your thoughts are so powerful. And then I also love, Benazati talks about vitamin G and just, being so grateful and having that gratitude. So yeah, that was a long-winded answer to say that the mental side and the spiritual side and doing all those positive things are going to help you. I think the food's going to do a lot, but there's still that emotional eating side that people need to be aware of.
Is it okay to say something real quick? I think, too, what has to precede the change of the food? So for me, once the food changed, that was huge. Yes, but before that happened, I had to actually believe that I was worthy, that there was worth in doing it. I believe that I'm created in the image of God, that I'm worthy of feeling good while I'm here, that I have a service to do while I'm here, a purpose to carry out. And I do meet people who I think genuinely feel that they deserve the pain that they're in. So then to convince them, but if you eat meat, you're going to feel good. It's but they don't even feel that they deserve to feel good. So I do think that something prior to the steak on the plate has to take place.
I believe the God thing for sure, what Kelly said about God, but I also think along with that we're always talking about our why. Like, why do you do this? What's your why? And honestly, I mean, my kids, my husband, my family, they are all my why, but I think I have to be my why, right? Like, you have to be your why. It has to be important enough for you to feel good, to help you feel good, So you be your why.
It's a great question.
One more
Thank
thing.
you.
My
Can you
thing,
add
one of my favorite sayings is, what you think about, you bring about. So you think about that. You sit around and you think, oh, I don't want to get the flu. Oh, I don't want to get sick. Oh, we can't afford a new car. Oh, we can't afford tennis shoes. So you're attracting that to you. So what you think about, like you take someone who's getting ready to run a marathon. If there's the start line of the marathon and they immediately think, I can't make it through this marathon, then you're already setting your mind up to fail. So planning to failure to plan is planning to fail. But I tell people all the time, like, you can do hard now or you can do harder later, because none of us are going to be as young as we were yesterday. So once you get that mindset straight and you say, I can do this craving for whatever it is, carbs, sugar, whatever it is, doesn't rule me. And you have to dig deep. I mean, it's hard. It's hard. I admit it. But like I said, what you think about, you bring about. I think it is a lot of mindset. For sure. And you can either move forward with it or you can talk yourself into things. And for me, I just don't have any sugar because I know, and it took me all these years to figure it out, I know if I have sugar, I'll be in trouble.
Can I answer real quick too?
Do it real quick and then
real
time
quick.
for one more.
So for years, I felt that obesity was my problem. Like that was it. If only somebody would just hand me the right thing to eat, the right diet, that will fix the problem. But now I've come to realize that my problem, like obesity is a symptom of how I was living my life and all the things that were going on in my life. So what you said there about needing, the spiritual, emotional, like all the other things, the mindset to me now is number one. And that's what keeps me going.
Really good question. Okay, we have time for just one more. I see you over there. If we can get a microphone. Yes, thank you, Jenny. Yeah, and I think with all of this, just to echo what they were saying, the pattern of that is like, this is much deeper than just food. Much deeper. So it's like, are we exercising a time in our day to acknowledge the other stuff too?
Hi, thank you so much. My name is Nicole Marie, and all of you ladies are absolutely beautiful, and just hearing your story is incredible. The question that I have is, what can you do when eating carnivore alone doesn't curb the addiction, or when the addiction comes out in other ways? So maybe you have these people who are doing the spiritual work. They are sitting down and rooting and asking the questions, where does this come? But when you have people who have, for generations, have been eating sugar, have been eating seed oils, who have been, dealing with these addiction problems, and those addictions are manifesting in other ways. Maybe they're hyperfixating on other habits and things like that. What do you say then to those people where it's not just the cookies? Maybe it becomes other unhealthy habits. The addiction really is about the fixation on, I need this in order to feel full or to feel satisfied or to feel, insert dopamine feeling here. So what are your thoughts?
Switched my food addiction for running, and it was definitely my dopamine hit. I replaced it with something else. And so I had to find, we spend so much time, if you have a food issue, a food eating disorder, if you go to fasting, you have to do something with that time that you have now. And I had to find something else that I love, and I replaced it with running, which I probably did way too much. I don't run anymore. I had to find something to replace the love of food. I replaced it with running. I had to replace that with something else. And I found that with my family. And I know that's not the answer you're looking for, but you have to find something else you love that's not an addiction. It's a hard answer.
I like that. Fill your time with something else. I remember when I first started Carnivore, my mentor was Charles Washington, and he said, I have some solid advice here. Get a hobby. And I was like, Pickle. One of my best friends is a big pickleballer. He said, you're going to need a hobby because your mind is going to need to be filled. He said, I want you to replace the food that filled your belly with a whole lot of meat. I want you to fill your life with a whole lot that was taken up with recipes and food obsession, your headspace. Fill it with other thoughts. I want you to replace your dopamine with things that give you joy in other ways. And I was like, okay. So it's not about I'm going without. I'm not going without food. I'm not going without joy. But my joy looks very different than it used to look, for sure. I had fertility struggles myself. And now part of my joy is bike riding with these 3 kids. Like, it was sitting there and eating alone, like the sheet cake, right? And that felt like joy in that moment. And as soon as it was gone, the joy was gone. It felt like disgust and pain and bathroom trips and a horrible trip to the scale the next morning. And it just felt shameful. And now the joy, it looks very different, but it's definitely there. And I can ride my bike with no hands. And my son thinks that's pretty cool. So that's joy, but I had to replace it. I don't just sit there going, wow, I miss cake. Because that's, yeah.
I think just in wrapping too, something that's really important is, people who have extreme personalities are some of the most powerful people like in the world, because you can really exercise that in the right direction if you just find the right direction to channel it. Right? I think it was like Oprah Winfrey, who was a heroin addict, I think, in her early life, and other people that have been very successful in life. So it's actually pretty empowering for a lot of people that have struggled with food addiction and other addictions. Like, just find your lane and focus there, right? But with that said, can you guys help me giving a round of applause to this panel?